Three, two, one, action. This is take two, everybody. Here we go. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We hope you enjoyed that take two, if you will. All right, well, there is a kind of a reason why I did play that song. It's going to tie into some of the things I'm going to actually teach you because, a lot of us, when we perform, there's a lot of times we'll have, when I've heard Journey perform recently, I've heard Carrie, Dawn, we all have our style. And many of us will have, four or five songs that we play that the arrangements are totally different. And then sometimes we'll have something that we do that we may do more than once in some of the song selections. So there's a few songs that I typically play in some of my concerts, and I have a tendency of using a feature more than once. And I'm going to teach you how to access that feature and experiment with it. Now, this is not a feature that most people would use. Some people would use it, and some of the more what we call the nuts and bolts type people that are into the technology and the buttons and the features. But there's a lot of people who may see this in their owner's manual or in the screen and just avoid it because they don't know what to do with it. The beauty is, whatever I teach you today, you can touch, poke around, you can push the buttons, do whatever you want. And if it doesn't sound right, you can always just exit out of it and then start from scratch. Just remember this. There's a lot of people, Joni, have you ever heard someone say, uh-oh, my mic's up on me. Can you still hear me okay?
Yes.
I got to get a new wire. It might snap, crackle, and pop once in a while. Have you ever heard anybody say, oh, I'm afraid to push this button because I don't want to hurt it or damage it, or I don't want to press this? Just remember, there's a reason why we have a button on the Lowry organs, and it is meant to be pressed, all right? The secret to this is that anytime that you experiment and you find something by experimenting that you like, That's when you want to go to the step of saving it to a preset. Because if you don't and you push a lot of things and you accidentally come across something that you like and then you exit out of it, now you have to start all over. All right? So, having said that, I featured a song here, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And what I did is I featured some guitar sounds here. All right, and let me get the presets that I wanted up here earlier. Somewhere Rainbow Jazz Guitar. Okay. I think this is it. So when I heard this, there's many renditions of this song. I heard this song in a movie, I think it was sort of the tail end of it, in a movie called Sleepless in Seattle, Tom Hanks. I think it was Meg Ryan. And they at the end of the movie, this song was playing. There was a real nice slow jazz version of it, and so that's cool. I wanted to use that same idea, but I took it a step further. What you're listening to, listen very closely. See if you can notice it online. Now you hear the guitars there. You hear it kind of echoing away. Now normally when you play a song, you're not going to do this and then just let it echo away. It doesn't sound funny. But if you do this, you use it in the context of the song, it actually works to your advantage. Now listen to the same guitar sound. All right. Now I'm going to switch to one of my presets here and listen to the difference in the guitar sound. See if you can hear the difference. Kind of hear it do I guess the simple way is a wavy kind of a sound effect there. In the guitar world, being a guitar player, we grow accustomed to using what we call guitar effects. So there's these little pedals that guitar players will put on the ground and they'll plug in, and they each do different things. Guitar pedal, for example, one of them may do a delay or an echo, if you will. Or one of them's called a flanger. One of them's called phase. And there's all these different effects when you hear these guitar sounds. And a lot of these effects are also used in many things. Sometimes in singing, they'll actually do an effect to their voice. So what I like to do a lot in some of the songs that I play is I'll put a delay effect on the guitar sound. And all that does is it gives me an effect that, especially, you're going to like this, because especially if you hit a bad note, because it almost kind of covers it up. But here's the guitar in the beginning. Kind of hear it echoing away. So what I do is and it just kind of echoes away to the notes. And the secret to this is play the notes, but if you hear the notes individually, it almost sounds like, boy, I would never do that. Well, that's that echo, but when you're hearing it being played, it's a totally different story. So the question is how do I get to that feature? Now, some of you may know the answer to this, and you basically go to feature. Let me see if I can get a close-up here. Camera view. Change. Okay, so I'm going to take off my camera for a moment, take you on a little ride. Whee! I don't know how clear that is in the picture there. Is that clear, or it seems like the closer I get, the...
No, it's not really clear.
Yeah.
There, you got a little better there.
A little better?
Yeah, that's better.
Wonder what would happen if I turn off the light.
Not clear out.
Let me turn off the light and see if that makes a difference. Otherwise, I'll pull up a manual. Actually, is that a little better? No?
No.
Oh, gaps. So, plan B. I have to be prepared for plan B. So, here's what I'm going to do, folks. I'm going to pull up the feature, and the feature is on page 4. If you go to page 4, let me pull this over here from a distance. Oh, this is driving me crazy. Okay.
And
so,
that's on the feature clear page 4, correct?
Yeah, so here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to point it out and then pull up a couple pictures here for you. So when you go to the feature, you go to page 4, and there's a picture on the screen. What'll happen is, bear with me, I'm going to send that picture from my phone to my computer, and then I'm going to screen share it. And watch me now, folks. All right. So you see this picture here. You see that picture? Okay. So I hit feature clear and I went to page 4, and there's a feature here called effects. All right. When I press effects, you're going to get an option in the window that's going to look something like bear with me as what I'm doing is I'm taking a picture of I'm taking a picture on my phone, and then I'm sharing it with my computer, and I've run out of ports on my computer, so I can't. Okay. All right, here we go. So when I press the effects button, this is what came up. All right. Now what's cool about this is there's a button there. You'll see it says delay. Bear with me for a second, folks. This can make it pretty difficult if you have to keep looking at that and having me do it this way. So what I'm going to do is attempt this. Here we go. Okay, how's that? Is that better? All right. The things I try to figure out in the moment. There's a little glare there, but okay. Now bear with me because I'm kind of looking back as I'm doing this here. Okay. So you'll see right here, there's a button that says delay. Now I'm going to touch it and go through, and there's different options that you can select. Distortion, pan and EQ, rotary, chorus, ensemble, celeste, etc., etc. Okay? They're all different things that do different effects. And what I did, and I'll tell you, if you want to experiment with this feature, start off simple. Start off with a guitar. Because as I look at these options, delay, distortion, pan, EQ, rotary, chorus, this brings me back to my guitar days. I used to have 5 or 6 different pedals that did all of these little things. All right? Now, what I'm going to do is end up on the one that was started. It's a delay. Now, here's what delay does. It does exactly what it says. It creates a delay. Now, you'll notice that there's an option here that says edit. When you touch edit, this comes up on the screen. Now, you're going to ask this question to yourself, or you're going to be thinking this question. And the answer, I'm going to tell you the answer right now. The question is probably going to be, is what setting is a good setting? You see, there's 3 different things there. The answer is, once you set it and you like it, that's the one that it's going to work for you. All right? And there's these options here that allow you to do fun things with it. So right now, this is the amount of delay. In this case, this is the delay time. and the feedback. Now notice the difference. I'm going to turn it down to 0. And I'm going to do this. Notice it didn't go as far as much. See that? Now I'm going to put the feedback up to 50. Now some people think, well, how did you know to do that? Actually, I don't know. All I did is I touched the numbers and fooled around with it until I got. You notice how it's echoing on? And the feedback carries it out even further. Now, amount of delay. Now, watch what happens. I'm going to put it all the way up to 100. You're not going to like it. I'm going to tell you that right now. Or up to 90 or whatever. Now, watch. Notice how noticeable it is. It was redundant, wasn't it? Okay. So, what happens is when I got this set up and I put on a guitar, all I did is I activated the delay feature. I forget what number that was on. Let's see. 47. Okay. So what I did is I set up a guitar sound. And then what I did is I activated this feature called effects. And it says delay. Now, you'll notice that you have to tell it where do you want to impact the effects, orchestral 1 or 2. So on your organ, since this is the Elite EX Series class, you all have a panel that looks like that. So if you own a Marquis, Grand Marquis, Aria, and even the Inspire and the Rialto, they all have this same panel. So what I did is I chose a guitar sound, and the orchestral is on both. Okay, and what I have on there is 2 guitar sounds. And then all I did is I selected delay and I edited it. Now, when I was doing this and I was playing my song, I had no clue what numbers were going to work for me. All I did is I started touching and scrolling and moving the numbers around, and I was just doing this and that and this and that and this and that, and I would play. And then when I found something I liked, I saved it to a preset. Now, if I found something I didn't like, what happened was when I was showing this to you, I went up to here, and I said, oh, I don't like that. And I couldn't remember what number I had on. Watch this. All I have to do is deactivate it, turn off that preset, turn it back on, and it's still there. Okay? So, the trick to this is secret number 1. Secret number 1 is this. Set up the organ with a rhythm. Set it up with a sound that you like. Make sure you get that part right first. What you don't want to do is try to find an effect that works with the sound before you have the sound. So when I set this up, folks, what I did is I took this sound, okay? That was how I set up that was my preset. That was what I wanted, okay? So all I have is no rhythm and a guitar. And in this case, I have a jazz guitar 1 and jazz guitar 2, okay? That's what I selected. Nice 2 guitar sounds. Now that sounds pretty good like that, right? Once I found the sound that I liked, I stopped there and I saved it on a preset. So now anything that I adjust, if I don't like it, I can turn it off and turn it back on, and it comes back to the original setting. So remember that. If there was anything I would probably strongly suggest from this point before we go any further, is before you experiment with some of these special effects, find the sound that you like. And it doesn't matter if it's a rhythm preset or if it's something, you make an adjustment. Find something you like, even if it's a minor adjustment, and then save it. Now, we've taught it in many classes, but I'll just say it very quickly. To save a preset, you hit memorize, a letter, and a number, and then you save it with a style, then memorize. Okay? So now that you have this set up, then you can go in and experiment. Now this is without the special effects. Now I love that effect. It sounds good as it is. Now I'm going to go into the special effects and I'm going to turn it on. And now we get this. You can have a little fun with that too because you hit these little notes. Now, how many of you, and I'm just going to, and keep your hands up if you do because I want to just scroll through. How many of you use the keyboard touch or dynamic keying feature? It's the same thing. Show of hands. All right, from the videos that I can see, it looks like about half. And that's about right. And here's why people do not use the touch feature. Because you have to press the note harder or softer. And that kind of messes with the melody a little bit. Well, in this case, I like to use the touch feature because when I'm playing, the more I touch it, the harder I touch it, the softer it impacts the delay effect. Now watch. And a guitar, have you ever heard a guitar player play? When they play the guitar, no matter how good they are, they never play, an acoustic guitar, they never play at the exact same volume. There's always a fluctuation in the volume when they play. A piano player, when they play the piano. Now, piano's harder because the keys are weighted. All right? But a guitar, on the other hand, is a little different too. The harder or softer you strike the strings, the different effects you get. So I love using this feature with the touch because then it creates little imperfections in the guitar sound. And as funny as it may sound, those imperfections is what makes it perfect. So even if you're not a hard player, I would suggest using that because then you can get these neat little effects like this. Even if you make a mistake once in a while, that's probably a good thing. And you'll notice when I play, a lot of times I'll tap on the note a few times. I do little things like that because I have the touch feature on and the delay, so when I tap those notes, it kind of echoes off a little bit. And it creates this effect, and a lot of these people think that they either think I have a nervous hand or they're thinking I'm doing something spectacular musically. I'm not. I'm using the feature of the instrument to enhance what I do. We have some great artists here. We have some great artists that work internally. We have some great artists like Marco Mendez, that's a child prodigy. But you know, even Marco uses these effects when he plays because it enhances him. The idea of these features is to enhance the way you play, regardless of the way you play. So if you're a great player and in between or a brand new player, it doesn't matter. The idea is that the effects make you sound different. Some of the greatest guitar players of our time use effects when they play. It just enhances them. So that was one little feature. Now here's another one. I'm going to take you back on another little ride here. Go ahead, Stan, you have a question?
Yes. Now, after you set that up, on the panel, there's an effects button that's lit up. So can you turn the effects on and off by using the effects button?
When you're saying on the panel, do you mean on the
Yes,
side of
right there. There's a button that says effects that's lit up under ORC 1 and ORC 2. Don't you have a button?
Mine does not say it because I'm on a Rialto. Is it in the screen you're referring to?
No, it's on the panel. Don't you have a button on your panel that says effects?
You mean the letters F and X?
No, no. All right, never mind.
Oh,
It's a-
you
it's a
mean over
button under
here?
each-
You
each
mean over
one.
here? Yes.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
So now, if
Yes.
you turn that off, will it go back?
Yeah. So essentially, what happens is all that's doing is activating it, turn it on and off. Yes, I misunderstood. So what happens is on the EX series and the Rialto and the Inspire, once you have this effect in place, so in this case I have, okay, that delay effect is on. While I'm playing, I can easily turn on or off that effect from here once I have it set. So the answer is yes. Okay, that just turns it on or off. What I'm doing is I'm going through if you can turn this effect button on any time, but keep in mind that the Lowry defaults to many different effects. Sometimes it may automatically put in a flanger. Sometimes it may put what's called an auto pan. Sometimes it puts on all these effects that are in there. Okay? All this does is it activates the effect. What I'm doing is showing you once you choose the effect that you want to alter, you can go in and alter it and edit it and do everything like I showed you. But once you have it set, again, I would encourage you to save it on a preset. Then as you're playing, yes, you can do things like this. Then you can turn them on and off as you're playing. Okay? Good question. All right, let me bring up my phone's camera. Let me take you back to the screen. I want you to take a look here. Okay. This wire is bugging me on the headset. All right. So what you have here is what you just heard. Now, when I started playing the song, you'll see something change here. I played this. I'm going to try to do this one-handed, folks. Give me a second. So when you heard me playing that part of the song, you heard I use what's called a flanger. Now I can turn it off to the side here, but I'll turn it off right in the screen here. Now listen to it without. I'll turn it back on. Now watch. Hopefully you can hear a difference there. And again, all I do is I edit it. Now, here's an example. Flanger, on the other hand, does the best way to explain is it kind of gives you a wavy stereo type effect. Okay? But watch what happens. You'll notice the rate is number 4 in here. Watch what happens when I turn that number up to even 30. You're probably not going to like it. Woo! Okay. That was annoying. All right. Again, I can turn off, because I saved it, I can turn off my preset and turn it back on. The beauty of this is you can create as much or as little, change or not. If you're listening to that, I gave it more flange, more noticeable, but I made sure that it didn't waver like crazy like this. So, and I just keep messing with it until I go, okay, I don't like that. Let me just touch it. And then I find it where I like it, and then guess what? I save it. So that was another effect. Now, before I go further, anybody have any questions? Claire? You have to unmute yourself, dear.
I have an aria, and what you're talking about, I don't have on my screen. I've got something entirely different, and I had to move the screen forward. When I moved it forward, I was able to get to the solo part, and then I saw what you were talking about, but I can't find this flanger thing. Where did
Okay.
you find?
So what you do is, let me pull this back up here. It's, let me go back to here. Okay. So you could see that right there. Okay. So what you should do, theoretically, what should happen is when you push feature, you should be able to scroll to a page that says effects. Now, don't confuse that with lower sound effects, by the way, folks, okay? It's just effects. And when you touch it, now more than likely on the ARIA, you're going to have more options here.
I had 4 and I sent you a picture to your email, but of course it doesn't help now.
Oh,
But,
I'll check my email in a moment.
but that's okay. But
Okay,
I
but right here, you'll see it says flanger. Something's going to be in that screen.
no, it doesn't. It's not in there. It's not
Okay.
in there. So
Let me see
No,
your picture.
under ORC 1,
That's okay. Let me see your picture real quick. Oh, yeah, you're on the right page.
yeah, I know, but
Yeah. You,
when I went to solo, when
okay,
I
hold
pushed
on.
solo, I
Hold,
could
hold,
and
hold on.
edit.
Hold on. Let me take your picture, and I'm going to share your screen with the world. I'm glad I know a little bit about computers. All right. I think, let me see. I have 3 different pictures here. Let me see. Does that look like your screen there?
Yes,
Okay. So, folks, you see right here where it says Pan EQ?
yes.
All right. This here activates the effect. So, in other words, if I want the effect on the orchestral 1 or 2, you touch it. You want the effect on the solo 1 or 2, you touch it. If you want it on the lower sounds and your upper sounds, you have a couple more options here. Okay? Now, like Stan pointed out, there's also that same feature on that feature can be turned on. Now, with that in mind, you see where it says Pan and EQ?
Yes, when I touch it, it turns to auto pan.
You touch it, you should scroll, and you should be able to scroll through.
Delay,
You should scroll through a few of them.
distortion, pan
Yep.
EQ,
Keep
rotary,
going. Keep
chorus,
going. Yes, you got.
ensemble, Celeste, phaser, flanger. There it is.
Yes. So
Thank
you
you.
have more. I just happen to be only focusing on 1 or 2 items. So
Yeah,
if you
okay.
notice here, where's my camera? Is my phone off? That's why you can't see it. Okay. So if you notice here, once you touch it, you have many different options that you can change.
Okay.
And they all do different things, folks. The flanger is the one that I'm on. Now watch what happens when I put on tremulant. What is tremulant, folks? Anybody know? I don't know. It feels like it sounds like it's going to do what it says. But all I do is I touch. Whoa, it does exactly what it says. And I just mess with the buttons and I do this. It's got a tremolo built into it. I'm going to turn down the amount. See? And that's all I do. Now, once I'm in that screen, watch this. I can actually change it from there. Auto wah. Huh. What does that do? It creates a wah effect on whatever sound you have on at the time automatically. Now, I don't know what all these other things do. Don't ask me. I just touch and scroll and listen. You kind of hear a little bit of a wah effect. Let's go to this one here, auto pan. I think auto pan just makes the sound go from left to right. I don't know if you'll be able to hear that online. The delay I went through. Now, distortion just means that. It's going to create a like electric guitar sound. You can control how much or little. Rotary. I don't know if I'd use that with my guitar sound, but let's see. It's not too bad. If I turn down the amount, let's see what happens. You'll hear this. Let me turn this down. The amount. Oh, speed. Fast speed. Let's touch it and scroll. Now you notice the speed is less. let me just keep it there for a second and see what happens if I took that setup. So if you noticed, all I did was, a lot of times people, well, how do you know? I have no clue. I just look at it and I say, this thing is really going, whoa, whoa, whoa. Maybe if I turn that one down. The secret, the big secret, if there's any take-home value, is that when you are experimenting and you run across something that you like, save it on a preset. Because I just move that around a lot. If I really like that setup and I don't want to lose it, the last thing I want to do is try to remember those little 3 things in there. And if you keep going through, there's different effects, different, here's a couple more I'll just share with you. And then I'll play just a couple songettes, if you will, and show you some of the other places I've used this. Now I was on Rotary, Chorus. Chorus is actually a nice one with guitar. It's very similar to Flanger. Whoop. Notice when I put the rate up, it drove me nuts. Let's see. You see, and what does this depth do? I don't know, Robert. Let's see. Let's touch it and scroll. Let's play a couple notes. So you see, what I do is I just experiment. And then what I'll do is when I think it might sound okay, I'll play a little bit of the song with it just to see. Let's see what else is in here. Ensemble. I have no idea what that is. Celeste. Phaser. I think we did phaser. Oh, well, that's funny sounding. Now, here's the other thing too, folks. Sometimes when you listen to a sound by itself, it may sound a little awkward. It may sound like, oh, I may not use that. But the best way to try it out is to try it out with the song before you change it. Now let's do it again. I'm going to go back, do this one-handed. Now to me, it's not something I would use, but I say to myself, that could work. Let me try messing with it a little bit more. Let me put a little less amount of this effect. Let's put a little less depth. I don't know if this is going to make it that much of a difference. Okay, let's see. And what I discover as I'm doing that is every now and then I'll run into like, hey, that might actually work. So I'm going to show you a couple other quick songs that I've used them in so you get an idea. But if I was to say write down the highlights of what I'm teaching today is on using the effects, is I would first, number one, set up the organ with a setup that you like. Get that rhythm, and my personal opinion, everybody's going to have a different one. My personal opinion on using these effects is start off by using some guitar sounds. Jazz guitar is a nice one to use because it's a sound that is pleasant to most. You have jazz guitar 1, some of you have jazz guitar 2. There's nylon string, but I would start off with the jazz guitar. So pick a rhythm, pick something, a setting, put a nice jazz guitar sound on, and then go to your feature, scroll to the effects page, and then tap on one of those special effects, and then experiment. And if you notice, and folks, I'm not pulling your leg here. Some of these things I was showing you just a few minutes ago is how I actually do it. I go, I don't know, it's okay. Let me see what it looks like when I do. Let me turn this down and let me turn that up. That's all I do. And then when I finally, and then, so set up the sound that you want, set up the rhythm, set up your setting. Start off with maybe the guitar sound. Number 2, experiment with the effects. Number 3, this is pretty important. Before you say no, try it with a song. Okay? I'm going to show you a couple other settings here that have a ton of delay and echo effect. That if you heard it, you'd say, boy, I would never use that. But I use it all the time on these songs, and people love the way it sounds because I tried it with a song and it kind of works. Okay? So we have any questions before I show you these examples? Gail?
Yes, Robert. Hi.
Hi.
When you save the sound, the setup on a stick, how do you take that same setup? That means now you can play it with any song, or let's say you save a guitar sound like you're doing. How would you do that? How would you use that in any other song that you're playing?
Easily. Watch. So in this particular group of setups that I have saved, I have really about 2 different setups. One has the delay, and the other has flanger. Okay? Now watch, as I go to my next setup, you'll see that it goes back to the delay. Now that one has the flanger or the delay as well, but there's some strings behind it. Okay, so it's been the same effect for the most part. All right, so the 4 settings that I have, so I may have, play it for. Okay, so that works great for that. That's what I intended it to do. Now I'm going to take that same setup, and I'm playing at a tempo of 66. That's a pretty slow tempo, which was what I was trying to capture the style of music that I heard the recording of Over the Rainbow in Sleepless in Seattle. Okay, now I may take the setup that I have. Let me just think here for a second, and I'm gonna speed it up a little bit. And let me just, now as I'm speeding it up, I may do something like this. Ready? Oh, now did you notice what happened? The tempo changed. So just a point of a side note, if you use a setting you have, I saved my presets at a specific tempo. If you're using a setup and you're changing the tempo, make sure you lock it. Okay, so there we go. So there again, I just use that. You just do it. And then if you're playing along and you go, I don't like it, guess what? Well, then it doesn't work for that song. Try it with another. Okay, let me try something. Something just popped in my head. I think sometimes I have musical ODD or ADD, is it? Whatever it is. And as I'm playing, as I was playing, I thought, I wonder if it'll work. That rhythm. Okay, that's a nice slow, swingy, kind of a jazzy sound with some really nice guitar sounds. Let me take that same rhythm and put on, and this is, by the way, a serenade rhythm without Orchestra Plus. And I'm going to play a minor chord on intro 2, and let's see what happens. Ready? I have a feeling this might work out nicely. know. I actually fell in love with it. It might be my new arrangement for summertime. I may use it for that now than the other one. And I had it at 82. What happens is you just do it is the answer, and then try something else with it and see if you like it. Now,
So let me just clarify. So you take the stick, you've saved your preset on it, you load the stick into the organ, and you hit A1. Let's say that's where you saved it, right? I mean, you would hit A1.
well, in this case, I did. Yes, wherever
Okay.
you saved it at.
Wherever you saved it. Okay, so now you can play anything you want, but you'll get that if you saved it as a guitar sound, you'll have that throughout any song that you're playing, unless
You'll
you
have
turn
that
it off.
No, you'll have that throughout until you change a preset that does not have it. So in this case, I had 4 presets that I saved with those. Now, when I went to number 5, because I didn't know what was there, I pressed 5 and something else came on. So yes, if you save a preset, what I did is I saved 1, I saved a second one, I saved the third one, and I saved a fourth one. And they were on the organ. I saved them to the stick. They're on my stick. Now I can always get them back. In fact, I was freaking out this morning because I usually put my stick around my neck. I have one of those lanyards, you know,
Yeah.
and I didn't put it on. And I had to, I brought another stick with me. It went on my computer, copied and pasted it. So I save them also on the computer. But anyway, so yeah, I loaded those presets in, taught my class. You asked a question about it, and I tried those same presets with another song. That's it. Now they're in there. Now what I did while I was talking here is I loaded in my presets for Besame Mucho. Besame Mucho is another one of those effect songs that I actually do this effect. Okay, now let me share screen, and let's see. Okay, so here is Besame Mucho, and what I'm going to do is go to the effects page, and you'll see that I have a guitar. I'm going to turn it off so there's no effect. I have a nice, let's see what I have here. Just a nice guitar, nylon jazz, okay? Okay, now notice what I'm playing. This is how I play the song. Okay, now that's without any effects, and it sounds okay. Now I'm going to turn on the effects. All right, and before I play it, let me show you what I did. I have the delay, I have edit, and you'll see there I have the amount of delay is at 85. I've got about a 41 and a 41. Now, if you were to ask me how I came to that, it's the same answer I told you earlier. I have no clue. I was just poking around, changing the numbers, playing the notes, and then I got to a point where I said, let me try it out with a song, because I almost didn't do the setting with a song. And here's why. Listen to the same thing I just played. Okay? It sounds like it's very aggressive in the echo, but when you're playing it, so I play it the same way, but it gives this effect that there's more actually happening than what I'm doing. Now, usually I use 2 hands when I do this, folks, so. And then when I go to play the song, I keep the effects on. Now watch. I won't play the whole song, but watch how my fingers are playing on this. forgive me, I'm trying to do this one-handed. But you notice as I'm playing, I tap the notes a lot. I do a lot of staccato as I'm playing it, and I do that on purpose. Now, if you play a lot of staccato without the delay, it's going to just sound very staccato. Okay? So, well, here's without it. See, watch. Now, with the effect on, there's all this little extra delay happening in there. It's making it sound like it's doing more than what you actually hear going on. Okay? So, I'm going to do, show you just a couple of notes of one other one. Now first, let's see. Here's one that I do. And what child is this? I have my tempo lock on. Here we go. Now listen to that sound. That's a theremin. Carrie mentioned in the class last week, most people use it for scary sounds. I actually have it with a flute, but notice the echo. Now watch. You hear that echo going crazy? That's a lot of delay. But if you play the notes smoothly, they kind of blend in with each other. And then at a certain part of the song, I use a pan flute. That's a lot of echo for a pan flute. Oh, my goodness. Now watch. Now, if you hear that pan flute by itself, you'd say, that's nuts. I'm not going to use it like that. But if you play it, and with a rhythm, okay. I'm going to close off with one number here in a moment using the same concept, and I'll show you another example I used it with. So today I showed you jazz guitar by using the delay effect, the flanger, which is a guitar sound, the nylon, I think it was, the string guitar that I used, and then in that case I used a theremin and a pan flute. All right. Okay. All right, so here is another example. So you hear that muted trumpet there? So there's another example. I've got the, what I've got here is the plunger trumpet. And I have an effect on. Let me turn the effect off. Which is great as it is, but when you put the effect, I get this. There's a little delay there. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to play a little medley for you using the special effects that I showed you today. So I'm going to finish up today with a little number for you. And thank you for joining me today. And I'm going to, here's the, so what I like to do sometimes is something like this. I've got my guitar sound, by the way, and I think I have that flange. Usually I play like a little blues or swing number with it, but I just thought of something. My ADD kicked in, musical ADD kicked in. And I thought I might be a month early, but see, if you've been bad all week, you have about 3 weeks to be good. So play this song. Now here comes that trumpet. Thank you very much. Well, we hope you enjoyed today's class, everybody. Stay tuned in for some of those exciting things, and thank you and have a wonderful day. And if you haven't voted yet, go vote.